Welcome to Uncopyable Women in Business. I'm your host, Kay Miller, also known as Muffler Mama. Stay tuned as I, along with my guests, give you marketing, sales, and personal branding strategies that will give you an uncopyable advantage. Today, I'm chatting with Jana Franklin. And Jana is the founder and CEO of CEO Concierge, a virtual assistant company designed to match exceptional outsourced executive assistants tailored specifically for CEOs. She's also the owner of several Jimmy John's franchises and the past president of the St. Louis chapter of Entrepreneurs Organization, known as EO. Jana, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
I'm excited to talk to you and learn about you because you have quite the interesting mix of things that you have done and are doing. And your latest endeavor is CEO Concierge, which is, as I understand it, virtual assistants for CEO entrepreneurs. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a great concept. VAs, virtual assistants, make more and more sense, especially when you don't want to pay for a full-time assistant, or you don't maybe need full-time. So we'll get a little bit more into how this happened because we're going to talk about the fact that you are a franchise owner.
For Jimmy John's before COVID. When COVID hit, we were considered an essential business but we were losing our staff. We had to cut hours. We were losing a lot of our clientele, especially our businesses around us that we were doing tons of catering, went to work from home. So we cut staff. And so I really needed to be in my stores and I really needed to figure out how I could be in my stores doing what I do well, which is management and being present for the team and so forth, and not doing the things I don't like, B, that take me forever to figure out, and C, just was like a time suck. And I went to a virtual assistant in the Philippines and really found a great virtual assistant that complemented my skill set, did the things that I'm not good at, very patient because I am not a patient person and I have a huge sense of urgency. So I really found someone that complemented my skills and personality, and then did another one and really saw that, wow, all of a sudden I actually had some work-life balance. I actually was able to grow my business and be where I needed to be to do that because I had people running the items. A, wasn't good, and B, that they were doing it much better and more efficiently. And so in talking to a group of female entrepreneurs who have also had, a couple of them had virtual assistants as well, I said, we really need to launch a company and go after people like us, entrepreneurs and CEOs like us, who wear multiple hats and have to do it all, especially females, because a lot of us are running our households and our work lives. And so I feel like there's a lot more added pressure. I think we have a bigger sense of control issues. I think that we don't like to be overwhelmed, but we're overwhelmed. And so I had this conversation with this group of women and they were like, yeah, we need to do it. And so we sat down in March of 23 and did a strategy session for a couple days. And then they went on their way and they're like, hey, Jana, we helped you. Now go launch the company. And so launched the company. They're great advisors for me. I run things by them. If I think, is this the right move? Is this the right move? And really just started going after people I knew that were in the same entrepreneurship, ownership, CEO seats. And we have built our business based on referrals. And what we do is we almost like headhunters.
So who do you go after?
So we go after entrepreneurs. And so I'll have a discovery call with a client and we just talk. And I'm just like experience sharing with them, like what I've done with a VA, what we do, how we can find the perfect VA for them. We use a personality profiling. I saw in your book, you talk about 16 personalities. We use 16 personalities. We use some other personalities with the client, and then also say, okay, this client's personality is this. What is the skill set they need? And then we go out and we headhunt for that perfect VA that's going to complement them and be a very good skill set and personality culture fit. And then we do an extensive training and with the client and with the VA. And so that's how we have gone after it, and basically taking what I did with my Jimmy John company and just trial by error and instituted a lot of that in our company and still do. And it's been great. I've met so many interesting people, interesting VAs, interesting entrepreneurs and CEOs, C-suite. I'm always amazed when I talk to people that have businesses or have a concept, an idea, because I'm always like, you did it. You went after what you thought about that no one did. And I'm always amazed at the creativity and the innovation that these people have. But that's where they sit, right? That's where they prosper, and they don't prosper doing their books, or they don't prosper managing people or being detailed. And that's where a virtual assistant can really come in efficiently. And I think the other thing is a lot of people don't comprehend or realize that it's really cost beneficial. That's what it was for me. It became very cost beneficial for me during COVID. And then I was like, why would I ever get rid of this? And so that's how we came.
Some of the points that you mentioned, I really like the virtual assistant, and you're wearing all those hats as a business owner, CEO. And of course, the phrase that comes to mind is only do what only you can do. And
Exactly.
Like you said, if you're doing all that peripheral work, paperwork, accounting, whatever, even reaching out marketing, that's not going to bring you income. I think that is huge. I know that you do have 2 kids, 2 boys, so you have a lot to balance and you want to spend as much time with them as you can, obviously. You said you had a VA in the Philippines. Are you most of your VAs in the Philippines now, or is it a mix, or how does that work?
They're all in the Philippines. I became a Philippines entity in May of 24. So it allows me to, because I want to grow them as well, professionally and personally. 80% of my virtual assistants are women and who have young children. So that it works well for them as well. But I became a Philippines entity in May of 24, and it allows me to give them great benefits as a company. And that is really key. We don't hire anyone that doesn't have the virtual assistant experience. And that's also key. And I think it really goes into retention. I don't have the best retention in the Jimmy Johns because the beast of it is what it is. And so for me, when I started this company, that was one of the biggest things for me was how can I retain great people and also make them feel like they're a team.
I have a VA in the Philippines and she's great. Her name's Rochelle. So Rochelle, you're going to see this. I'm very happy with Rochelle, but here was the issue. It was really hard to find her. And I happened to get a referral from someone else. And so that is huge. If you're listening as a CEO, business owner, or solo entrepreneur, whoever, you need to know that the VAs have been vetted, so to speak. And that's what you're doing. That is huge, right?
Yeah, it's a big process for us. I have my recruitment team is my biggest team. I do all the final interviews. So 80% don't even make it. It's 80. 80% don't make it to the first interviews. 80% don't make it past the first interviews. 80% don't make it past the second interviews. And if they get to me, they're usually making it, but I'm only interviewing 3 to 4 VAs per client role. And I'm coming at it from the standpoint of the client. Like I'm asking those questions like, how are you going to handle me? I like to use the word whirling dervish because I'm popping up everywhere And it's like, today my priority is this. Tomorrow my priority is this. Oh, guess what? At 6 a.m. my priority changed for tomorrow. So like, how are you going to handle that constant of an entrepreneur, business owner, C-suite person who's always putting out fires? And so I really try to get into their mindset when I'm doing the final interviews. And about 50% of our clients do interviews after us. The others don't. They're like, hey, you know what you're doing. We trust you. And it's not a matter of trust, but they want to make sure that the personalities fit. And the process is worked very well for us. We don't have a whole lot of issues. And it's really interesting because at first with the personality profiling, I didn't really pick certain profiles per se. And they're now, after going through it for a good 6 months with the beginning, I was like, there is that profile we will never hire because they don't have detail. And most of the entrepreneurs, C-suite business owners don't have detail as far as I can tell from at least our clients. And so the BAs have to have detail. They have to be able to be detail oriented. And so the process has really worked for us.
And you mentioned trial and error, which applies to so many things, marketing and hiring VAs. You said trial and error. Sometimes you had, I'm sure in the beginning, like you said, you picked somebody that wasn't what you were looking for, wasn't really a fit. I do want to clarify. So you are CEO Concierge. So what's your definition of a CEO? If someone's listening and they're a solo entrepreneur.
Yeah. So for us, it's C-suite, typically executives that are firing on a lot of cylinders, small business owners, entrepreneurs. That's who is our sweet spot for us. Because that's what the hats I wear. So it's very easy for me to collaborate and understand where they're coming from. And I think that's really important. Think that if we think about innovation, that's where I can help because I'm thinking of something that I maybe have done that might help them, the clients, or vice versa. I've learned a lot from some of our clients too. You talk about lead gen and sales, and that's one of the areas that I'm not, at least with Jimmy John's, that's business to consumer. That is not a sales driven process. That is something I definitely have learned in this role. So there are some things I've learned from my clients and vice versa that has really made a difference. And I just think that staying in my lane is very important for me. And I've been approached to do things that maybe another outsourcing company can do. And I'll sit there and go, yeah, we can do it. And then as I start to think about it, I'm like, nope, we can't do that because we're just going to start muddying the waters. And that is not where I like to sit.
I think a lot of people who are really successful say one of the biggest things that they do is say no, right? And you especially. I know you're involved in a lot of things. I want to get to your entrepreneurial organization. But yeah, saying no and knowing, I love that. Stay in your lane, right? It's hard to do because, I could do that, but what are you not doing because you're spending time on that? And you were referred to me by Tracy Marlowe, and I wanted to mention that she's episode 117, and you guys are a lot alike, I think, in many ways. She quit her corporate job to start her own ad agency because she had a baby, a family, and she didn't want to work those crazy hours. But like you, I asked her, where do you get your clients? And like you, she has a big network of entrepreneurs. So she did say, I just approached the people I know. And she also, my market, which of course we call our moose, the main market we go after for her is women empowerment. As you said, I'm guessing most VAs in the Philippines are women. Mine also has children. So it's a good fit for them. And, it's inexpensive. And I don't know if you want to share how you charge for that, or not, or if you want people to contact you to find out.
No, I think everyone's minimum wage is different in the United States by state, right? And so I think it's different. So we also do part-time, which I think allows for client. And I always say to our clients, if they've never had a virtual assistant, start part-time, like ease into it. You don't need to go full-time just to go full-time, because there's always a learning curve, whether you like it or not. And I say it's no different than the person sitting in the next room from you that's working for you. There's still going to be a learning curve. So we do part-time. Minimum hours is 20 hours a week, which is only 4 hours a day. And that goes pretty fast. That's $12 an hour. So my minimum wage in Missouri is $13.75. In Illinois, which I have Jimmy John's in Illinois as well, it's $15 an hour. So for me, $12 an hour is a nice sweet spot, because the other thing that I absolutely love about the Filipinos, and also there's some other countries that do the same thing, they're highly educated. The work ethic is their bucket list is they want to work for United States clients. They want to grow. I can't tell you how many people I talk to that do their own training. They try and get certifications. They're trying to do that. And it's refreshing. My bookkeeper's a CPA. Most of my employees have their bachelor's degrees. And so you are getting a high quality person for that rate. Full-time's $1,900 a month for 40 hours a week. And the other thing is, I don't like having to chase auto renews as a person, as a business owner, because guess what? I forgot to cancel it 60 days ago, and now I'm auto renewed for another year.
Right. I've been there too.
Yeah. So we just are a 30 days notification opt out. Like, I just think that we don't have time to be chasing it, and I don't want to be shady. I'm very transparent. I'll get on the phone with my clients if there's an issue, and I try to be proactive, just like my VA. If I see a problem popping up, I'm going to call the client and go, hey, are you seeing this too? And maybe they aren't, but at least we're having a conversation. So for us, we try, what's that saying? Keep it simple, stupid. We try and keep it simple, because no one wants to deal with chasing people.
Right. And I wanted to make the point that, of course, probably most people listening will know, but the cost of living in the Philippines is so low.
Yes.
We think $12 an hour is not much, but it's a good wage.
It is a good wage. And we do benefits. That's why we became a Philippines entity. So they get a 10% differential graveyard pay with us. They get a rice allowance. They get a raise every 6 months. They get internet allowance. They get so many PTO days, and then those grow the longer they're with us. I've visited with my team. We had a party in Manila in September. And so yes, when I was there, their nails were awesome. All my women's nails were awesome. I was like, guys, how much is that? Like, I was trying to get some cost comparisons. Mm-hmm. They're like, my nails cost $12. And it's what would cost probably $100 for us to go to that,
right,
to go to a salon. Haircuts were $1. So wow. Yeah. So you have to put it in perspective. And I think sometimes people think, oh, you're not paying them enough. But in perspective, it's their cost. It's like you said, it's their cost of living.
I was thinking your reputation has got to be just huge to you, the importance of that. So yeah, vetting your people. Again, that's the biggest problem I see with getting VAs is where do you go to find them? Somebody like you.
Everywhere.
Yeah. And you just don't know what you're getting. I actually worked with another VA before, and did not have a good experience. So it really pays to use CEO Concierge for finding the right VA. I think that's a great business model. So let's talk about, as I said, with Tracy, she has connections, and you're one of her connections. And so how do you fund your clients? I know you're part of and you were actually the past president of the Entrepreneurs Organization of St. Louis. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure that's part of your network. So how did you move into this?
It is part of our network, but EO for short, has a strict no solicitation policy. So it's more like just having conversations with members. And for example, my chapter has a chapter chat, and someone might put a question out there. Hey, does anyone have an executive assistant? And then I pounce. That's how I can pounce on it and be like, hey, I can talk to you. And that's how it started. The ball kind of started rolling. And so then they referred someone else, and then someone else got referred, and then someone else it's just been that way. And I try to be accessible when they need me to be accessible. I think that's the key. Like, I use a Calendly link, but if someone's introducing me in an email, I'm like, hey, I'm responding as fast as I can, and I'm trying to connect with them, and I will try and move my calendar around to meet them. Because that's the other thing. To me, concierge is really meeting the person where they need us to be. If you think of like a hotel concierge, they're doing everything in their power to bend over backwards, and that's what I'm trying to do. Because I also think as a society and as corporations and so forth, I think a lot of personal touch has gone away.
It has. And we're also used to instant gratification. And you can see me taking some notes here. So I just interviewed a woman named Dr. Kate D. And she is an MD. I used to be a radiologist. And then she started 2 medi-spas, estheticians. And now she owns 2. And she gives her cell phone out. And she says, if I can't answer, I call right back, because people they want to know. They want to connect now. So yeah, I think the days of saying, even, I'm sorry, check your email once or twice a day doesn't always work if you just totally want to be there for your customers and your prospects.
And we launched a program called Project Inbox Zero, because a lot of the virtual assistants are managing their client calendars and inboxes. And basically it is saying, if a client, we label them like category A, B, C, D. And so A is you're WhatsApping your client, or you're Slacking your client, or whatever. You're communicating like, hey, you have an A email that needs to have an answer in an hour from you, right? Or here's the B emails that can be answered. And then C, D. So they're throwing the spam into a spam folder and so forth. And the nice thing is then the VA is also sending their client at the end of the day an a report of what they did. So there's days that I don't talk to my VAs, and I get an end of day report, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they got a lot done today. And I can take that off my list. I think that's really important aspect of it, because like you said, communication's key.
And thanks to technology, this is possible where it wasn't a few years ago. And then COVID came along, Zoom exploded, WhatsApp. We were talking about, you've been to Guatemala and I've been to Guatemala. I was out in the middle of the jungle and I called my family. It was like I was calling from across town. WhatsApp is great and all the different technologies for VAs. So let's see, we've got about 5 more minutes. And I'm just curious. So we've got my mood is also like you, women entrepreneurs, not necessarily CEOs. I see a lot of women starting businesses and they have a passion for something, but they don't know all of these various things. So they might not be your market. They might not be a fit for you. I do want to mention, I will put all your links in the show notes. So whoever wants to reach out to you.
Yeah, for sure. You'd be surprised who our clients are. I had a client the other day reach out. She's a 1-person shop, and she's to the point where I can't do it. I can't wear all the hats. And so it goes back to the cost effectiveness.
Right. Okay. That's good to know. So a solo entrepreneur, if they want to hire a VA for 4 hours a day, can still do that. And they'll probably
I mean, we have several VAs that are WhatsApping or Slacking their client an hour before they need to be walking out the door, saying, you have to be walking out the door in 30 minutes to meet your one.
That would be good. I should have had that this morning. I told you I went to a doctor in Seattle, and we live south of Seattle. And oh my gosh, I left way too late, which I literally allowed an hour and a half. I don't want to vent, but I should tell Rochelle, you got to get me out of the house, girl.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's what happened. My sister is really bad at that. So I can do one more thing. And then she's late, which for me, it's okay. I'm still going to be late, but it's not because I was doing one more thing.
That's right. Life happens, right? And you have kids, and you are such a go-getter.
Thank you.
And knowing Tracy really recommended you. And I I thought, okay, I definitely want her as a guest. And you listening, I am looking for really great guests that can inspire.
Tracy and I could give you a list.
Okay.
We're definitely not in the same markets, which is really
Right.
nice. I've learned a lot from her when it comes to marketing. And your book, the anchors and triggers in your book really hit home to me. I actually referred to it earlier today in a conversation I was talking to someone about for branding, which is not the world I live in either. And so I think the other thing is 70% of our clients are women. And I think it's because, I hope that's what it's the camaraderie and the collaboration and just the symbiotic relationship of sharing some grief together or cheer, right? I think we're definitely more emotional in our decisions. And so the fit conversation, the culture conversation, the wearing 1,000 hats really plays into it, and you can relate.
Right. And some people, I had one gal on the podcast who really did not, she said, I am not going to accept that there's a difference between being a man and a woman when you're starting a company. She's the only one who said that. And my belief is women and men are different. Not that one could be more successful than the other, but we are more relational. I think we're wired to wear more hats because we've always had the family responsibility and all of that stuff. The other thing I like about Tracy and you, and that's my purpose also, is to lift women up and to help women. And I'm older than you, but when I started my career, I just felt like women were not supportive of each other. The opposite. If we can rise, the rising tide lifts all boats or ships or whatever. So I like that you are also passionate about that. So I know
from my family. It comes from my mother and my grandmothers. They were both my grandmother. I'm from Nebraska, so very conservative, small state. And both of my grandmothers in the 50s were entrepreneurs.
That's interesting. And one last thing I'm going to say, and then I want you to give a couple closing thoughts.
Okay.
But I have not met anyone or interviewed anyone on this podcast who doesn't have an absolutely solid work ethic. You just can't. You've got to have that drive. So I was going to ask you, where does that come from? And so it's interesting that you say from your grandmothers, but also in any business or sales or any part of business, there are ups and downs. Just close us out with a few thoughts that will help the listener, embolden them to be a little bit more like Jana.
My husband would disagree with that, but okay. I think that I really try. I'm a family of women. My dad had all girls, right? So it was emboldened into us that girls can do anything boys can do. First of all, growing up in Nebraska. And then secondly, I'm one of those people that I'm going to regret not trying. I'm never going to regret trying and failing. Failure to me is, I got to try it. And if I fail, there's been many times I have failed. And I say to new business owners and entrepreneurs and everyone, learn from my expensive mistakes, okay? Because I've done it. So I think that if you have an idea, find some people that you can bounce that idea off of and really help lift you up and give you some pros and give you some cons and push back on it, but don't take it personally and defensively. But I think, like I said, I have to try. And I've tried a couple other endeavors that have failed, but I still keep trying because I regret not trying versus the other way. And that's what I'm trying to instill in my two boys. And just that is the biggest thing. And then don't be afraid to ask for help. I think that's key because we cannot do it. We physically, emotionally, mentally, you will collapse. You will come down. And to me, that's worse, right? I broke my leg in the fall of 23, and it completely shut me down because I couldn't walk. And it was really good for me because it gave me a bigger insight onto what I can handle and what I can't. And that's where you talked about saying no. You've got to be able to say no. And that was as the past president of EO St. Louis, obviously I had problems saying no. So I definitely can say no now. So those are like my tidbits that I try and live by and go with. And I don't hesitate asking someone else if they are stronger, like you in sales or Tracy in marketing. I have no problems calling Tracy and asking her for some insight if I'm struggling in that area. I think that's important as women, that we are lifting each other up and that we know we have people we can call.
And when it's our turn to be mentors and help other women, then we can pay it forward. So I appreciate your honesty. I love the part that you admit your failures, because yes, if you don't try and if you don't fail, you're not going to succeed. No one succeeds just out of the box. Right. I shouldn't say no one. There is probably somebody, but for the most part, you just got to, have that grit, that tenacity, and the attitude that you have. So I really appreciate your time. It's been a fascinating conversation that flew by. And you listening, we will have links in the show notes. So if you are in the market for a VA that can really take some things off your hands that aren't your most productive, that don't make sense for you to do. So anyway, I really appreciate you being on the podcast. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to this episode. See you next time, and always remember to be uncopyable.